I've got the stock belt guard right here, which I'm gonna have to modify to make it work. I think if I cut this piece off, I could slide it in here, and I might be able to bolt this to this little thread that I put in here for the fender supports that I've never used. And then it's gonna be a little short on the front, so I'm gonna have to cut a piece of metal and try to bend it over for the front. But for now, I'm gonna cut this off. Let's set it in there and see what it looks like. Okay, it fits good, except for it doesn't fit. If I put it where it lines up with that hole, man, it looks really good. But this bracket is welded on the inside of the chain guard. And this part right here is rubbing the sprocket, so that won't work. So I like the looks of this part of it. I don't really want to redo this. I think I'm gonna try to cut this bracket out of the inside of here and weld a new piece on the outside. That way it should have clearance on the sprocket and the belt. So I'm gonna try to get this thing cut off and see what we can do with it. Try to get the camera closer so you can see. So I cut that bracket off on the inside. It was spot welded on, and it seems to clear everything now. And I just took that same bracket and I trimmed it down. And I think I'm just gonna weld it to the top right there. And that'll get my spacing this way and this way, kind of get me where I need to go. But it looks like I'm still gonna have to trim this belt guard right here for some clearance on the frame. Because it's, with this where it needs to be, it's rubbing the belt up here because it's sitting crooked. So it's gonna rub one or the other if I don't have it clearanced. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this piece, clean this up, and spot weld it on, so I'll at least have this side where it needs to be. Then I'll mark this and cut out a little notch there so it'll clear the frame. So that's my next step, is to weld this on, notch that, and then we'll see where we're at from there. Okay, I put that piece on the outside, and I put one washer behind this mount here, and I put it up there, and it doesn't rub. With two washers, it was making it rub against the belt up here because this was in a bind. It's pretty tight. There's not a ton of clearance, and this belt guard is only going to be on here temporarily. I'm only going to put it on here if I want to go somewhere like to the drag strip or something, run up and down it, and I'm required to have a belt guard. Other than that, I'm gonna take it off because, well, it's gonna be hideous looking before it's over with. So I think the back is fine. We got one mounting bracket back here. I've got to put a mounting bracket up front. And when I built this bike, I had the genius idea of chopping down the front sprocket cover. And the belt guard, according to the rules, has to go to the front, all the way across the front sprocket too. You have to be protected from the front and the rear sprocket. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a piece of metal and try to bend it by hand, because I don't have a metal brake or anything. And I'm gonna run it all the way to the front, across the front sprocket here, and I'm gonna bolt it through using this bolt hole right here on the transmission with some spacers or something. I don't know, I'll figure that out once I get to it. But for now, I'm gonna cut me a piece of metal. I've got some, I think it's 16 or 18 gauge metal. I'm gonna cut me like a 1 foot piece, probably 3.5 inches wide, and break it over. I don't know how I'm gonna break it over just yet, but I'm gonna figure that out, and I'll just spot weld it to the front of this, and it'll make this piece longer. So that's my plan anyways. Hopefully it works out. Okay, here's the plan. Since this thing's only 1 foot wide, I'm gonna try to bend it by hand. I just put it where I want to bend it, clamped a piece of flat strap down to it. I've got these duck bills. I'm gonna try to bend it with that. If that doesn't work, I'll probably take a hammer. If that doesn't work, I'll probably take a torch and heat it up and bend it over. I don't know, let's try it and see what happens. Well, I think that worked pretty decent anyways. It might not be perfect, but it don't look horrible. I mean, it's not a straight 90 bend, it's got a curve to it, kind of like the chain guard does. So we'll put it on there, see what it looks like, how it matches up. Hopefully it's pretty close. So it actually matches up really well if you put this piece on the inside of this. On the outside, it's still not too far off. It don't look too bad. But right there is almost perfect. So I think what I'll do is I mark this off of this widest part, and I think I'll just cut it right there, and I may just weld this to the inside of this, and that way it just matches up better. All right, this is what I come up with so far. I ended up welding that on the outside, try to give more clearance for the belt up front. But I don't think it looks too bad considering I've only got maybe an hour or so into it, so. I'm gonna put it on there and see what it looks like. Now I need to figure out a mount for the front. Like I said, I'm gonna go off this transmission. I've got this bracket that I cut off the front of this chain guard up here. I may just try to use it. I think it's a little long to go on top like the other one, but I may put it right there. I don't know, I need to find a bolt and some nuts and see where this needs to be. So I don't know exactly what spacing I need for this right now, so I just got like a really long 1/4 inch. This is like a screw. And I put nuts and washers on each side, and that way I can adjust it to where it needs to be. Go ahead and fit all this together, get this piece welded on here. Then I'll figure out what kind of spacer I need and how long my bolt needs to be for the bracket itself. All right, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I've got a little set of finger clamps clamping this bracket to the guard. And I've got my bolts, my little nuts tightened up to it. I can roll the wheel and nothing seems to be dragging, so that's a good sign. I mean, it's really close, especially back here. I may have to figure out how to bend that out. Maybe take that nut in a little bit, I don't know. It's pretty tight on both ends. It's tight, but it's not rubbing, so we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna go ahead and mark this and that and get that tack welded on, and then put it all back together, make sure it's still not rubbing, and then we should be good to go after that. I got that tab welded on there, and for a spacer I just used a 1/4 inch pipe nipple. I cut it 1 1/4 inches long, and that allows for the 1/4 inch bolt to go through there, and it gives me a good spacer behind it. But I got it fully bolted up now. The tire rolls, nothing rubs it. I need to probably take it for a ride and just make sure that nothing rubs it while I'm riding it. With this being a rigid frame, it shouldn't move. This shouldn't move, nothing should move. So nothing should ever rub it if it's not rubbing it right now. So, unless for some reason something flexes when it's got power on it. So I'll just have to, I'll probably go ahead and paint it and put it on there and then ride it. And that way if it does rub, I should see where it rubbed because it should rub the paint off. If you liked anything on this video, let me know, give me a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.